4 Discourses of the Buddha. The Layman's Code of Discipline. Sagala was the son of a Buddhist family residing at Rajagaha. His parents were devout followers of the Buddha, but the son was indifferent to religion. The pious father and mother could not by any means persuade their son to accompany them to visit the Buddha or his disciples and hear the noble doctrine. The son thought it practically useless to pay visits to the Sangha, as such visits may entail material loss. He was only concerned with material prosperity. To him spiritual progress was to no avail. Constantly he would say to his father, "I will have nothing to do with monks. Paying homage to them would make my back ache, and my knees stiff. I should have to sit on the ground and soil and wear out my clothes." And when, at the conversations with them, after so sitting, one gets to know them, one has to invite them and give them offerings, and so one only loses by it. Finally, as the father was about to die, he called his son to his deathbed, and inquired whether he would at least listen to his parting advice. "Most assuredly, dear father, I shall carry out any order you may be pleased to enjoin on me," he replied. "Well then, dear son, after your morning bath worship the 6 quarters." The father asked him to do so, hoping that one day or other, while the son was so engaged, the Buddha or his disciples would see him, and make it an occasion to preach an appropriate discourse to him. And since deathbed wishes are to be remembered, Sagala carried out his father's wish, not, however, knowing its true significance. Now it was the custom of the Buddha to rise from his sleep at 4 o'clock and after experiencing nibbanic bliss for an hour to pervade the whole world with his boundless thoughts of loving kindness. It is at this hour that he surveys the world with his great compassion to find out what fellow being he could be of service on that day. One morning Sagala was caught in the net of the Buddha's compassion. And with his vision the Buddha, seeing that Sagala could be shown a better channel for his acts of worship, decided, "This day will I discourse to Sagala on the layman's Vinaya, code of discipline. That discourse will be of benefit to many folk. There must I go." The Buddha thereon came up to him on his way for alms to Rajagaha. And seeing him engaged in his worship of the 6 quarters, delivered this great discourse which contains in brief, the whole domestic and social duty of the layman. Commenting on this sutta, the Venerable Buddhaghosa says, "Nothing in the duties of a householder is left unmentioned." This sutta is called the Vinaya of the householder. Hence in one who practices what he has been taught in it, growth is to be looked for, not decay. And Mrs. Rhys Davids adds, "The Buddha's doctrine of love and goodwill between man and man is here set forth in a domestic and social ethics with more comprehensive detail than elsewhere." And truly we may say even now of this Vinaya or code of discipline, so fundamental are the human interests involved, so sane and wide is the wisdom that envisages them, that the utterances are as fresh and practically as binding today and here as they were then at Rajagaha. Happy would have been the village or clan on the banks of the Ganges where the people were full of the kindly spirit of fellow feeling. The noble spirit of justice which breathes through these naive and simple sayings. Not less happy would be the village, or the family on the banks of the Thames today, of which this could be said. Sagalave da Sutta. Thus have I heard. On one occasion the Exalted One was dwelling in the bamboo grove, the squirrel's sanctuary, near Rajagaha. Now at that time, young Sagala, a householder's son, rising early in the morning, departing from Rajagaha, with wet clothes and wet hair, worshipped with joined hands the various quarters. The east, the south, the west, the north, the nadir, and the zenith. Then the Exalted One, having robed himself in the forenoon, took bowl and robe, and entered Rajagaha for alms. Now he saw young Sagala worshipping thus and spoke to him as follows. "Wherefore do you, young householder, rising early in the morning, departing from Rajagaha, with wet clothes and wet hair, worship, with joined hands these various quarters? The east, the south, the west, the north, the nadir, and the zenith. My father, Lord, while dying, said to me, the 6 quarters, dear son, you shall worship. And I, Lord, respecting, revering, reverencing and honoring my father's word, rise early in the morning, and leaving Rajagaha, with wet clothes and wet hair, worship with joined hands, these 6 quarters. It is not thus, young householder, the 6 quarters should be worshipped in the discipline of the noble. How then, Lord, should the 6 quarters be worshipped in the discipline of the noble? It is well, Lord. If the Exalted One would teach the doctrine to me showing how the 6 quarters should be worshipped in the discipline of the noble. Well, young householder, listen and bear it well in mind, I shall speak. Very good, Lord, responded young Sagala. And the Exalted One spoke as follows. Inasmuch, young householder, as the noble disciple 1. Has eradicated the 4 vices in conduct 1. 2. Inasmuch as he commits no evil action in 4 ways. 3. Inasmuch as he pursues not the 6 channels for dissipating wealth, he thus, avoiding these 14 evil things, covers the 6 quarters, and enters the path leading to victory in both worlds. He is favored in this world and in the world beyond. Upon the dissolution of the body, after death, he is born in a happy heavenly realm. 1. What are the 4 vices in conduct that he has eradicated? The destruction of life, householder, is a vice, and so are stealing, sexual misconduct, and lying. These are the 4 vices that he has eradicated. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master had thus spoken, he spoke yet again. Killing, stealing, lying, and adultery, these 4 evils the wise never praise. 2. In which 4 ways does one commit no evil action? Led by desire does one commit evil. Led by anger does one commit evil. Led by ignorance does one commit evil. Led by fear does one commit evil too. But inasmuch as the noble disciple is not led by desire, anger, ignorance, and fear, he commits no evil. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master had thus spoken, he spoke yet again. Whoever through desire, hate or fear, or ignorance should transgress the Dhamma, all his glory fades away like the moon during the waning half. Whoever through desire, hate or fear, or ignorance never transgresses the Dhamma, all his glory ever increases like the moon during the waxing half. 3. What are the 6 channels for dissipating wealth which he does not pursue? A. Indulgence in intoxicants which cause infatuation and heedlessness. B. Sauntering in streets at unseemly hours. C. Frequenting theatrical shows. D. Indulgence in gambling which causes heedlessness. E. Association with evil companions. F. The habit of idleness. A. There are, young householder, these 6 evil consequences in indulging in intoxicants which cause infatuation and heedlessness. I. Loss of wealth. 2. Increase of quarrels. 3. Susceptibility to disease. 4. Earning an evil reputation. V. Shameless exposure of body. 6. Weakening of intellect. B. There are, young householder, these 6 evil consequences in sauntering in streets at unseemly hours. I. He himself is unprotected and unguarded. 2. His wife and children are unprotected and unguarded. 3. His property is unprotected and unguarded. 4. He is suspected of evil deeds. 3. He is subject to false rumors. 6. He meets with many troubles. C. There are, young householder, these 6 evil consequences in frequenting theatrical shows. He is ever thinking. I. Where is there dancing? 2. Where is there singing? 3. Where is there music? 4. Where is there recitation? V. Where is there playing with cymbals? 6. Where is there pot blowing? 4. D. There are, young householder, these 6 evil consequences in indulging in gambling. I. The winner begets hate. 2. The loser grieves for lost wealth. 3. Loss of wealth. 4. His word is not relied upon in a court of law. V. He is despised by his friends and associates. 6. He is not sought after for matrimony, for people would say he is a gambler and is not fit to look after a wife. E. There are, young householder, these 6 evil consequences in associating with evil companions, namely, any gambler, any libertine, any drunkard, any swindler, any cheat, any rowdy is his friend and companion. F. There are, young householder, these 6 evil consequences in being addicted to idleness. He does no work, saying, I that it is extremely cold. 2 that it is extremely hot. 3 that it is too late in the evening. 4 that it is too early in the morning. V that he is extremely hungry. 6 that he is too full. Living in this way, he leaves many duties undone, new wealth he does not get, and wealth he has acquired dwindles away. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master had thus spoken, he spoke yet again. One is a bottle friend, one says, friend, friend only to one's face, one is a friend and an associate only when it is advantageous. Sleeping till sunrise, adultery, irascibility, malevolence, evil companions, avarice, these 6 causes ruin a man. The man who has evil comrades and friends is given to evil ways, to ruin does he fall in both worlds. Here and the next. Dice, women, liquor, dancing, singing, sleeping by day, sauntering at unseemly hours, evil companions, avarice, these 5 causes ruin a man. Who plays with dice and drinks intoxicants, goes to women who are dear unto others as their own lives, associates with the mean and not with elders. He declines just as the moon during the waning half. Who is drunk, poor, destitute, still thirsty whilst drinking, frequents the bars, sinks in debt as a stone in water, swiftly brings disrepute to his family. Who by habit sleeps by day, and keeps late hours, is ever intoxicated, and is licentious, is not fit to lead a household life. Who says it is too hot, too cold, too late, and leaves things undone, the opportunities for good go past such men. But he who does not regard cold or heat any more than a blade of grass and who does his duties manfully, does not fall away from happiness. These 4, young householder, should be understood as foes in the guise of friends. 1. He who appropriates a friend's possessions. 2. He who renders lip service. 3. He who flatters. 4. He who brings ruin. 1. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who appropriates be understood as a foe in the guise of a friend. I. He appropriates his friend's wealth. 2. He gives little and asks much. 3. He does his duty out of fear. 4. He associates for his own advantage. 2. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who renders lip service be understood as a foe in the guise of a friend. I. He makes friendly profession as regards the past. 2. He makes friendly profession as regards the future. 3. He tries to gain one's favor by empty words. 4. When opportunity for service has arisen, he expresses his inability. 3. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who flatters be understood as a foe in the guise of a friend. I. He approves of his friend's evil deeds. 2. He disapproves his friend's good deeds. 3. He praises him in his presence. 4. He speaks ill of him in his absence. 4. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who brings ruin be understood as a foe in the guise of a friend. I. He is a companion in indulging in intoxicants that cause infatuation and heedlessness. 2. He is a companion in sauntering in streets at unseemly hours. 3. He is a companion in frequenting theatrical shows. 4. He is a companion in indulging in gambling which causes heedlessness. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master had thus spoken, he spoke yet again. The friend who appropriates, the friend who renders lip service, the friend that flatters, the friend who brings ruin, these 4 as enemies the wise behold, avoid them from afar as paths of peril. These 4, young householder, should be understood as warm-hearted friends. 1. He who is a helpmate. 2. He who is the same in happiness and sorrow. 3. He who gives good counsel. 4. He who sympathizes. 1. In 4 ways, young householder, should a helpmate be understood as a warm-hearted friend. I. He guards the heedless. 2. He protects the wealth of the heedless. 3. He becomes a refuge when you are in danger. 4. When there are commitments he provides you with double the supply needed. 2. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who is the same in happiness and sorrow be understood as a warm-hearted friend. I. He reveals his secrets. 2. He conceals one's own secrets. 3. In misfortune he does not forsake one. 4. His life even he sacrifices for one's sake. 3. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who gives good counsel be understood as a warm-hearted friend. I. He restrains one from doing evil. 2. He encourages one to do good. 3. He informs one of what is unknown to oneself. 4. He points out the path to heaven. 4. In 4 ways, young householder, should one who sympathizes be understood as a warm-hearted friend. I. He does not rejoice in one's misfortune. 2. He rejoices in one's prosperity. 3. He restrains others speaking ill of oneself. 4. He praises those who speak well of oneself. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master had thus spoken, he spoke yet again. The friend who is a helpmate, the friend in happiness and woe, the friend who gives good counsel, the friend who sympathizes too. These 4 as friends the wise behold and cherish them devotedly as does a mother her own child. The wise and virtuous shine like a blazing fire. He who acquires his wealth in harmless ways like to a bee that honey gathers, 6 riches mount up for him like ant hills rapid growth. With wealth acquired this way, a layman fit for household life, in portions 4 divides his wealth, thus will he friendship win. 1 portion for his wants he uses 7. 2 portions on his business spends, the 4th for times of need he keeps. And how, young householder, does a noble disciple cover the 6 quarters? The following should be looked upon as the 6 quarters. The parents should be looked upon as the east, teachers as the south, wife and children as the west, friends and associates as the north, servants and employees as the nadir. Ascetics and Brahmins as the zenith 8. In 5 ways, young householder, a child should minister to his parents as the east. I. Having supported me I shall support them. 2. I shall do their duties. 3. I shall keep the family tradition. 4. I shall make myself worthy of my inheritance. Furthermore I shall offer alms in honor of my departed relatives. 9. In 5 ways, young householder, the parents thus ministered to as the east by their children, show their compassion. I. They restrain them from evil. 2. They encourage them to do good. 3. They train them for a profession. 4. They arrange a suitable marriage. At the proper time they hand over their inheritance to them. In these 5 ways do children minister to their parents as the east, and the parents show their compassion to their children. Thus is the east covered by them and made safe and secure. In 5 ways, young householder, a pupil should minister to a teacher as the south. I. By rising from the seat in salutation. 2. By attending on him. 3. By eagerness to learn. 4. By personal service. By respectful attention while receiving instructions. In 5 ways, young householder, do teachers thus ministered to as the south by their pupils, show their compassion. I. They train them in the best discipline. 2. They see that they grasp their lessons well. 3. They instruct them in the arts and sciences. 4. They introduce them to their friends and associates. They provide for their safety in every quarter. The teachers thus ministered to as the south by their pupils, show their compassion towards them in these 5 ways. Thus is the south covered by them and made safe and secure. In 5 ways, young householder, should a wife as the west be ministered to by a husband. I. By being courteous to her. 2. By not despising her. 3. By being faithful to her. 4. By handing over authority to her. By providing her with adornments. The wife thus ministered to as the west by her husband shows her compassion to her husband in 5 ways. I. She performs her duties well. 2. She is hospitable to relations and attendants. 10. 3. She is faithful. 4. She protects what he brings. She is skilled and industrious in discharging her duties. In these 5 ways does the wife show her compassion to her husband who ministers to her as the west. Thus is the west covered by him and made safe and secure. In 5 ways, young householder, should a clansman minister to his friends and associates as the north. I. By liberality. 2. By courteous speech. 3. By being helpful. 4. By being impartial. By sincerity. The friends and associates thus ministered to as the North by a clansman show compassion to him in 5 ways. I. They protect him when he is heedless. 2. They protect his property when he is heedless. 3. They become a refuge when he is in danger. 4. They do not forsake him in his troubles. V. They show consideration for his family. The friends and associates thus ministered to as the North by a clansman show their compassion towards him in these 5 ways. Thus is the North covered by him and made safe and secure. In 5 ways should a master minister to his servants and employees as the nader / I. By assigning them work according to their ability. 2. By supplying them with food and with wages. 3. By tending them in sickness. 4. By sharing with them any delicacies. V. By granting them leave at times. The servants and employees thus ministered to as the nader by their masters show their compassion to him in 5 ways. I. They rise before him. 2. They go to sleep after him. 3. They take only what is given. 4. They perform their duties well. V. They uphold his good name and fame. The servants and employees thus ministered to as the nader show their compassion towards him in these 5 ways. Thus is the nader covered by him and made safe and secure. In 5 ways, young householder, should a householder minister to ascetics and Brahmins as the zenith. I. By lovable deeds. 2. By lovable words. 3. By lovable thoughts. 4. By keeping open house to them. V. By supplying their material needs. The ascetics and Brahmins thus ministered to as the zenith by a householder show their compassion towards him in 6 ways. I. They restrain him from evil. 2. They persuade him to do good. 3. They love him with a kind heart. 4. They make him hear what he has not heard. V. They clarify what he has already heard. 6. They point out the path to a heavenly state. In these 6 ways do ascetics and Brahmins show their compassion towards a householder who ministers to them as the zenith. Thus is the zenith covered by him and made safe and secure. Thus spoke the Exalted One. And when the Master had thus spoken, he spoke yet again. The mother and father are the east, the teachers are the south, wife and children are the west, the friends and associates are the north. Servants and employees are the nader, the ascetics and Brahmins are the zenith, who is fit to lead the household life, these 6 quarters he should salute. Who is wise and virtuous, gentle and keen-witted, humble and amenable, such a one to honor may attain. Who is energetic and not indolent, in misfortune unshaken, flawless in manner and intelligent, such a one to honor may attain. Who is hospitable and friendly, liberal and unselfish, a guide, an instructor, a leader, such a one to honor may attain. Generosity, sweet speech, helpfulness to others, impartiality to all, as the case demands. These 4 winning ways make the world go round, as the linchpin in a moving car. If these in the world exist not, neither mother nor father will receive respect and honor from their children. Since these 4 winning ways the wise appraise in every way, to eminence they attain, and praise they rightly gain. When the Exalted One had spoken thus, Sagala, the young householder, said as follows. Excellent, Lord, excellent. It is as if, Lord, a man were to set upright that which was overturned, or were to reveal that which was hidden, or were to point out the way to one who had gone astray, or were to hold a lamp amidst the darkness, so that those who have eyes may see. Even so, has the doctrine been explained in various ways by the Exalted One. I take refuge, Lord, in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. May the Exalted One receive me as a lay follower, as one who has taken refuge from this very day to life's end. Dingha Nikaya, number 31. Notes. 1. Kamakilsa, lit. Actions of defilement. 2. These are the 4 agati, evil courses of action, chanda, dosa, moha, baya. 3. Crimes committed by others. 4. A kind of amusement. 5. The Pali original has here 6 causes as 2 compound words and 1 double term phrase are counted as units. 6. Dhammapada v49, as a bee, without harming the flower, its color or scent, flies away, collecting only the honey. 7. This portion includes what is spent on good works, gifts to monks, charity, etc. 8. The symbolism is deliberately chosen, as the day in the east, so life begins with parents' care, teachers' fees, and the south are the same word, dakina. Domestic cares follow when the youth becomes man, as the west holds the later daylight, north is beyond, uttara, so by help of friends, etc., he gets beyond troubles, Rhys Davids. 9. This is a sacred custom of the Aryans who never forgot the dead. This tradition is still faithfully observed by the Buddhists of Sri Lanka, who make ceremonial offerings of alms to the monks on the 8th day, in the 3rd month, and on each anniversary of the demise of the parents. Merit of these good actions is offered to the departed after such ceremony. Moreover, after every punnakama, good action, a Buddhist never fails to think of his parents and offer merit. Such is the loyalty and the gratitude shown to parents as advised by the Buddha. 10. Lit. The folk around, Parijana. 4. Discourses of the Buddha. The Discourse on Blessings 1. This famous text, cherished highly in all Buddhist lands, is a terse but comprehensive summary of Buddhist ethics, individual and social. The 38 blessings enumerated in it are an unfailing guide on life's journey. Rightly starting with avoidance of bad company, which is basic to all moral and spiritual progress, the blessings culminate in the achievement of a passion-free mind, unshakable in its serenity. To follow the ideals set forth in these verses is the sure way to harmony and progress for the individual as well as for society, nation, and mankind. The Mahamangala Sutta shows that the Buddha's instructions do not always take negative forms, that they are not always a series of classifications and analysis, or concerned exclusively with monastic morality. Here in this sutta we find family morality expressed in most elegant verses. We can imagine the happy blissful state household life attained as a result of following these injunctions. From the Ethics of Buddhism by S. Tachibana, Colombo 1943, Bodha Sahitya Sava. Mahamangala Sutta. Thus have I heard. On one occasion the Exalted One was dwelling at Anathapindika's monastery, in Jita's grove too near Savatha III. Now when the night was far spent, a certain deity whose surpassing splendor illuminated the entire Jita grove, came to the presence of the Exalted One and, drawing near, respectfully saluted him and stood at one side. Standing thus, he addressed the Exalted One in verse. Many deities and men, yearning after good, have pondered on blessings for pray, tell me the greatest blessing. Not to associate with the foolish five but to associate with the wise, and to honor those who are worthy of honor. This is the greatest blessing. To reside in a suitable locality. 6. To have done meritorious actions in the past and to set oneself in the right course. 7. This is the greatest blessing. To have much learning, to be skillful in handicraft. 8. Well trained in discipline. 9. And to be of good speech. 10. This is the greatest blessing. To support mother and father, to cherish wife and children, and to be engaged in peaceful occupation. This is the greatest blessing. To be generous in giving, to be righteous in conduct. 11. To help one's relatives, and to be blameless in action. This is the greatest blessing. To loathe more evil and abstain from it, to refrain from intoxicants. 12. And to be steadfast in virtue. This is the greatest blessing. To be respectful. 13. Humble, contented, and grateful, and to listen to the Dhamma on due occasions. 14. This is the greatest blessing. To be patient and obedient, to associate with monks and to have religious discussions on due occasions. This is the greatest blessing. Self-restraint. 15. A holy and chaste life, the perception of the noble truths and the realization of nibbana. This is the greatest blessing. A mind unruffled by the vagaries of fortune. 16. From sorrow freed, from defilements cleansed, from fear liberated. 17. This is the greatest blessing. Those who thus abide, ever remain invincible, in happiness established. These are the greatest blessings. 18. Notes. Derived mainly from the commentaries. 1. This sutta appears in the Sutta Nipata, v.258 ff, and in the Kadakapatha. See Mahamangala Jataka, number 453. For a detailed explanation see Life's Highest Blessing by Dr. R. L. Soni, Wheel No 254/256. To Anathapindika, lit. He who gives alms to the helpless. His former name was Siddhartha. After his conversion to Buddhism, he bought the grove belonging to the prince Jita, and established a monastery which was subsequently named Jetavana. It was in this monastery that the Buddha observed most of his Vasana periods, rainy seasons, the 3 months retreat beginning with the full moon of July. Many are the discourses delivered and many are the incidents connected with the Buddha's life that happened at Jetavana. It was here that the Buddha ministered to the sick monk neglected by his companions, advising them, "Whoever, monks, would wait upon me, let him wait upon the sick." It was here that the Buddha so poignantly taught the law of impermanence, by asking the bereaved young woman Kisagatama who brought her dead child to fetch a grain of mustard seed from a home where there has been no bereavement. 3. Identified with modern Sahutmahut, near Balrampur. 4. According to the commentary, Mangala means that which is conducive to happiness and prosperity. 5. This refers not only to the stupid and uncultured, but also includes the wicked in thought, word, and deed. 6. Any place where monks, nuns, and lay devotees continually reside, where pious folk are bent on the performance of the 10 meritorious deeds, and where the Dhamma exists as a living principle. 7. Making the right resolve for abandoning immorality for morality, faithlessness for faith and selfishness for generosity. 8. The harmless crafts of the householder by which no living being is injured and nothing unrighteous done, and the crafts of the homeless monk, such as stitching the robes, etc. 9. Vinaya means discipline in thought, word, and deed. The commentary speaks of 2 kinds of discipline, that of the householder, which is abstinence from the 10 immoral actions, akusalakamapata, and that of the monk, which is the non-transgression of the offences enumerated in the Padamokha, the code of the monk's rules, or the fourfold moral purity, Kataparasuddhi Sila. 10. Good speech that is opportune, truthful, friendly, profitable, and spoken with thoughts of loving kindness. 11. Righteous conduct is the observance of the 10 good actions, Kusalakamapata, in thought, word, and deed, freeing the mind of greed, ill will and wrong views, avoiding speech that is untruthful, slanderous, abusive, and frivolous, and the non-committal acts of killing, stealing and sexual misconduct. 12. Total abstinence from alcohol and intoxicating drugs. 13. Towards monks, and of course also to the clergy of other religions, teachers, parents, elders, superiors, etc. 14. For instance, when one is harassed by evil thoughts. 15. Self-restraint, tapo, the suppression of lusts and hates by the control of the senses, and the suppression of indolence by the rousing of energy. 16. Lokadhamma, i.e. conditions which are necessarily connected with life in this world. There are primarily 8 of them: gain and loss, honor and dishonor, praise and blame, pain and joy. 17. Each of these 3 expressions refers to the mind of the arahant, asoka, sorrowless, viraja, stainless, i.e. free from lust, hatred, and ignorance, kima, security from the bonds of sense desires, kama, repeated existence, bhava, false views, dithi, and ignorance, avijja. 18. The above-mentioned 38 blessings. 4. Discourses of the Buddha. The causes of downfall. While the Mangala Sutta deals with the way of life conducive to progress and happiness, the Parabhava Sutta supplements it by pointing out the causes of downfall. He who allows himself to become tarnished by these blemishes of conduct blocks his own road to worldly, moral, and spiritual progress and lowers all that is truly noble and human in man. But he who is heedful of these dangers keeps open the road to all those 38 blessings of which human nature is capable. Thus have I heard. Once the Exalted One was dwelling at Anathapindika's monastery, in the Jita Grove, near Savatthi. Now when the night was far spent, a certain deity whose surpassing splendor illuminated the entire Jita Grove came to the presence of the Exalted One and, drawing near, respectfully saluted him and stood at one side. Standing thus, he addressed the Exalted One in verse. The deity. Having come here with our questions to the Exalted One, we ask thee, O Gautama, about man's decline. Pray, tell us the cause of downfall. The Buddha. Easily known is the progressive one, easily known he who declines. He who loves Dhamma progresses, he who is averse to it, declines. The deity. Thus much do we see, this is the first cause of one's downfall. Pray, tell us the second cause. 1. The Buddha. The wicked are dear to him, with the virtuous he finds no delight. He prefers the creed of the wicked. This is a cause of one's downfall. Being fond of sleep, fond of company, indolent, lazy and irritable. This is the cause of one's downfall. Though being well-to-do, not to support father and mother who are old and past their youth. This is a cause of one's downfall. To deceive by falsehood a Brahmin or ascetic or any other mendicant. This is a cause of one's downfall. To have much wealth and ample gold and food, but to enjoy one's luxuries alone. This is a cause of one's downfall. To be proud of birth, of wealth, or clan, and to despise one's own kinsmen. This is a cause of one's downfall. To be a rake, a drunkard, a gambler, and to squander all one earns. This is a cause of one's downfall. Not to be contented with one's own wife, and to be seen with harlots and the wives of others. This is a cause of one's downfall. Being past one's youth, to take a young wife and to be unable to sleep for jealousy of her. This is a cause of one's downfall. To place in authority a woman given to drink and squandering, or a man of a like behavior. This is a cause of one's downfall. To be of noble birth, with vast ambition and of slender means, and to crave for rulership. This is a cause of one's downfall. Knowing well these causes of downfall in the world, the noble sage endowed with insight shares a happy realm. Sutta verses 91 to 115. Note 1. These lines are repeated after each stanza, with the due enumeration. 4. Discourses of the Buddha. The conditions of welfare. In this sutta, the Buddha instructs rich householders how to preserve and increase their prosperity and how to avoid loss of wealth. Wealth alone, however, does not make a complete man nor a harmonious society. Possession of wealth all too often multiplies man's desires, and he is ever in the pursuit of amassing more wealth and power. This unrestrained craving, however, leaves him dissatisfied and stifles his inner growth. It creates conflict and disharmony in society through the resentment of the underprivileged who feel themselves exploited by the effects of unrestrained craving. Therefore the Buddha follows up on his advice on material welfare with 4 essential conditions for spiritual welfare. Confidence, in the Master's enlightenment, virtue, liberality, and wisdom. These 4 will instill in man a sense of higher values. He will then not only pursue his own material concern, but also be aware of his duty towards society. To mention only one of the implications. A wisely and generously employed liberality will reduce tensions and conflicts in society. Thus the observing of these conditions of material and spiritual welfare will make for an ideal citizen in an ideal society. Thus have I heard. Once the Exalted One was dwelling amongst the Kaliyans one in their market town named Kakarapada. Then Dinghajanu Tua Kaliyan approached the Exalted One, respectfully saluted him and sat on one side. Thus seated, he addressed the Exalted One as follows. We, Lord, are laymen who enjoy worldly pleasure. We lead a life encumbered by wife and children. We use sandalwood of Kasi. We deck ourselves with garlands, perfume and unguents. We use gold and silver. To those like us, O Lord, let the Exalted One preach the Dhamma, teach those things that lead to weal and happiness in this life and to weal and happiness in future life. Conditions of worldly progress. 4 conditions, Vyagapaja 3 conduce to a householder's weal and happiness in this very life. Which 4? The accomplishment of persistent effort, Athanasampada, the accomplishment of watchfulness, Arakhasampada, good friendship, Kalyanamitta, and balanced livelihood, Samajivakata. What is the accomplishment of persistent effort? Herein, Vyaggapaja, by whatsoever activity a householder earns his living, whether by farming, by trading, by rearing cattle, by archery, by service under the king, or by any other kind of craft. At that he becomes skillful and is not lazy. He is endowed with the power of discernment as to the proper ways and means, he is able to carry out and allocate duties. This is called the accomplishment of persistent effort. What is the accomplishment of watchfulness? Herein, Vyaggapaja, whatsoever wealth a householder is in possession of, obtained by dint of effort, collected by strength of arm, by the sweat of his brow, justly acquired by right means. Such he husbands well by guarding and watching so that kings would not seize it, thieves would not steal it, fire would not burn it, water would not carry it away, nor ill-disposed heirs remove it. This is the accomplishment of watchfulness. What is good friendship? Herein, Vyaggapaja, in whatsoever village or market town a householder dwells, he associates, converses, engages in discussions with householders or householders' sons. Whether young and highly cultured or old and highly cultured, full of faith, sada, for full of virtue, sila, full of charity, kaga, full of wisdom, panna. He acts in accordance with the faith of the faithful, with the virtue of the virtuous, with the charity of the charitable, with the wisdom of the wise. This is called good friendship. What is balanced livelihood? Herein, Vyaggapaja, a householder knowing his income and expenses leads a balanced life, neither extravagant nor miserly, knowing that thus his income will stand in excess of his expenses. But not his expenses in excess of his income. Just as the goldsmith or an apprentice of his, knows, on holding up a balance, that by so much it has dipped down, by so much it has tilted up, even so a householder, knowing his income and expenses leads a balanced life, neither extravagant nor miserly, knowing that thus his income will stand in excess of his expenses, but not his expenses in excess of his income. If, Vyaggapaja, a householder with little income were to lead an extravagant life, there would be those who say, this person enjoys his property like one who eats wood apple. 6. If, Vyaggapaja, a householder with a large income were to lead a wretched life, there would be those who say, this person will die like a starveling. The wealth thus amassed, Vyaggapaja, has 4 sources of destruction. I. Debauchery. 2. Drunkenness. 3. Gambling. 4. Friendship, companionship, and intimacy with evildoers. Just as in the case of a great tank with 4 inlets and outlets, if a man should close the inlets and open the outlets and there should be no adequate rainfall, decrease of water is to be expected in that tank, and not an increase. Even so there are 4 sources for the destruction of amassed wealth. Debauchery, drunkenness, gambling, and friendship, companionship and intimacy with evildoers. There are 4 sources for the increase of amassed wealth. I. Abstinence from debauchery. 2. Abstinence from drunkenness. 3. Non-indulgence in gambling. 4. Friendship, companionship, and intimacy with the good. Just as in the case of a great tank with 4 inlets and 4 outlets, if a person were to open the inlets and close the outlets, and there should also be adequate rainfall, an increase in water is certainly to be expected in that tank and not a decrease. Even so these 4 conditions are the sources of increase of amassed wealth. These 4 conditions, Vyaggapaja, are conducive to a householder's weal and happiness in this very life. Conditions of spiritual progress. 4 conditions, Vyaggapaja, conduce to a householder's weal and happiness in his future life. Which 4? The accomplishment of faith, sada sampada, the accomplishment of virtue, sila sampada, the accomplishment of charity, kaga sampada, and the accomplishment of wisdom, panna sampada. What is the accomplishment of faith? Herein a householder is possessed of faith, he believes in the enlightenment of the Perfect One, Tathagata. Thus, indeed, is that Blessed One, he is the Pure One, fully enlightened, endowed with knowledge and conduct, well gone, the knower of worlds. The incomparable leader of men to be tamed, the teacher of gods and men, all-knowing and blessed. This is called the accomplishment of faith. What is the accomplishment of virtue? Herein a householder abstains from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and from intoxicants that cause infatuation and heedlessness. This is called the accomplishment of virtue. What is the accomplishment of charity? Herein a householder dwells at home with heart free from the stain of avarice, devoted to charity, open-handed, delighting in generosity, attending to the needy, delighting in the distribution of alms. This is called the accomplishment of charity. What is the accomplishment of wisdom? Herein a householder is wise, he is endowed with wisdom that understands the arising and cessation of the five aggregates of existence, he is possessed of the noble penetrating insight that leads to the destruction of suffering. This is called the accomplishment of wisdom. These four conditions, Vyagapaja, conduce to a householder's will and happiness in his future life. Energetic and heedful in his tasks, wisely administering his wealth, he lives a balanced life, protecting what he has amassed. Endowed with faith and virtue too, generous he is and free from avarice. He ever works to clear the path that leads to will and future life. Thus to the layman full of faith, by him, so truly named enlightened, these 8 conditions have been told which now and after lead to bliss. Notes. 1. The Koliyans were the rivals of the Sakyans. Queen Mahamaya belonged to the Kaliyan clan and King Suddhodana to the Sakyan clan. 2. Literally, long need. 3. Tiger's path, he was so called because his ancestors were born on a forest path infested with tigers. Vyagapaja was Dinghajanu's family name. 4. Sada is not blind faith. It is confidence based on knowledge. 5. Tuladero, lit, carrier of the scales. 6. Udambarakadaka. The commentary explains that one who wishes to eat wood apple shakes the tree, with the result that many fruits fall but only a few are eaten, while a large number are wasted.